Hello, good morning, Germán. Marisol, can you please come? Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the MedAID final event. You know that this is a MedAID event organized with the collaboration of PerformFish. As you may know, the program is very tight. So we counted the collaboration of everybody, both the contributors and the participants, in order to try to follow the schedule of the session. The voice, a little bit more the voice. Do you listen me now better? Okay. Well, we are going to start. So let me introduce you Germán Valcarcel, who is our project officer, who has come to see our progress. And Germán is a project officer of both of the MedAID project and also the PerformFish project. And we have with us also Dolors Furones. Dolors is the scientific coordinator of MedAID, and Marisol Izquierdo, who is also the scientific coordinator of PerformFish. So I pass the word to Germán, that wants to welcome you.
Thank you, Bernardo. I'm allowed to, when we talk, we can take out we can remove the mask. So, good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here, I guess, like everybody, after 2 years from the last physical European Aquaculture Conference. Yes, I'm Germán Valcarcel. I am coming from the European Research Executive Agency, one of the agencies of the European Commission implementing the research program of the European Union. I'm also the project officer of the 2 projects, MedAID and PerformFish. The REA, my agency, is the one implementing the biggest part of the research program of the European Union. Now we are starting a new one. I come to that in 1 second. So all I can say, I'm very happy that, and I cannot believe that already 4 years passed since both projects started time ago. I remember I went to the kickoff meeting of PerformFish in Greece, and PerformFish is still running for 1 year. MedAID is finishing now, and this is the best forum possible to present the results. And I'm happy I had a chance in the last minute to come here to listen, not only to present it to me, but to present it to the public and to the whole aquaculture sector, what MedAID has done so far, together with interim or almost final results already of PerformFish. Okay, and a bit on, just a bit on the research program. Today is the 5th of October. Tomorrow is already the first deadline for the first call of proposals in Horizon Europe, which is the name of the new program of research program of the European Union. You know, the last 7 years, so we started now. This is the first deadline. There was a call on a topic on organic agriculture and organic aquaculture. I don't know if someone of you is applying, but I want to invite you also to apply. Well, you have not applying, you only have 1 day to submit your proposal. And for the 2022 topics, there are 3 topics I'm happy to invite you to consider participation, and I need to read them because they are very interesting. So in 2021, apart from this topic I mentioned, there was the other one, sea to fork transparency and consumer engagement. You can see how these topics are so ambitious in Horizon Europe, even more than in Horizon 2020. We focus, the projects are much wider, integrating definitely different fields and more society. Here, Bernardo, Caterina, the 2 coordinators of the 2 projects, are tired of listening to me pushing them on how they have to give back to society results, why the European Union have invested 7+7 million euros of European taxpayers. So there is a moral responsibility to provide results to society. So, and I know they are very aware of this. So for 2022, we have 3 calls. One, integrated and sustainable freshwater bioeconomy, combining aquaculture, biodiversity preservation, biotechnology, and other uses, 10 million euros for this. I think it's only one proposal. A second topic on biosecurity, hygiene, disease prevention, and animal welfare in aquaculture with 12 million euros. And the last one, innovative food for marine and freshwater ecosystems with 18 million euros. So I invite you, all of you, to consider participating in any of these topics. So I wish you a very successful and enriching meeting today and conference for these 3 days. Thank you.
Okay, let's continue. I'm going to give the floor to Marisol. Okay, so let me open the presentation. No, perdón, perdón. Pero ya empiezo mal. Ahora, madre mía. Vale, y ahora el problema es que no veo aquí.
Hola. Es que no funciona este ratón.
No, pero es que este...
Yes. It's lock or something. Just want to make it in a presentation mode.
Shut down again.
No, reboot the computer. It will be okay. It's blocked. It's blocked.
It's blocked.
Okay, I mean,
But
no worries
it's
for me,
the second time that it's blocked.
Okay.
Okay, well.
Bueno, si no, no pasa nada.
Sí, Antonio.
Bueno.
Antonio,
Bueno, esto dice Bernardo que ya se ha bloqueado 2 veces esta mañana, ¿verdad? Se bloqueó. Pero no sé, si van si lo vamos a presentar.
Vamos a entrar primero, si no
ya cambiamos.
Si no cambiamos, pero...
Me cae. Vale. Sí. Pero no está allí la presentación. Ah, ya, perfecto. Muy bien. Ok. Bueno. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And first of all, I want to congratulate MedAID team for this great job that they have been doing during these days. And finally, they reach the end of the project. As Germán has said, we still have 1 more year. And I also want to acknowledge the kind invitation to make some very, very short presentation of the PerformFish project. Since these two projects have been, as many of you know already, twin projects that have been cooperating in different actions. And I think although addressing different problems, most of the time, they have been being able to combine to give answers to the industrial sector. So I think it has been very fruitful. Obviously, MedAID and PerformFish have the same main objective, which is to increase the competitiveness of the Mediterranean aquaculture sector. A big difference from MedAID for PerformFish is that this project has been emphasized or has been led by the industry. So from the very beginning, the industry detected the main problems they had, and they requested to different researchers either to collect information already existent from other previous studies, or to run specific trials in order to be able to solve these problems that the industry showed. So most of the partners, 28 partners, belong to the South European countries, and many of them were from the industry. Indeed, we have joined all the marine fish, Mediterranean marine fish farmers associations from Greece, Italy, Spain, Croatia, and France, and so on. So the methodological approach that we use is we focus in all the different aspects of the aquaculture value chain, from the production, from the hatcheries and production of juveniles, the production of feeds and ingredients, the on-growing on the farms, until the products arrive to the consumer. We focused on trying to solve a specific key performance indicator related with growth, mortality, and feed efficiency. And for that, we work on juvenile quality, juvenile programming, feeding management, market-assisted selection, together with MedAID, epidemiology, vaccines, nutraceuticals, biocides, ingredients, formulation, and so on. I'm not going to show the different aspects that we have been working, just to mention that we had 4 technical work packages that were focusing on selective breeding, juvenile quality, fish health, feed efficiency, feeding, and feed quality as well, and then a series of transversal work packages that were taking this information to make improvements in reinforcing the marketing, validating these results that were obtained by the industry, and so on. Overall, more than 70 oral presentations and 50 posters have been delivered until now. We still have 1 year in international symposiums, and we also published more than 60 studies. 8 PhD theses and 4 master theses have been finished. And the most important, we have produced a series of key exploitable results that are being transferred to the industry, including the first one, the SNP array development. This was produced together with MedAID, and some others related with juveniles, with feed production, and so on, with fish health, and KPIs, and so on, that you will see. All this information is delivered to the industry by different ways, and one of these ways is through training courses. We have programmed 10 training courses for the industry, 10 main courses. Each of these courses is also divided into specific training courses, and as an example, for instance, some courses have been delivered to the industry for diagnosis of sea bass and sea bream diseases with a number of participants. We try to organize these meetings in a short number of people with the industry, and with a very good acceptance by the industry. People from the industry were from different countries, mostly Spain, Greece, Italy, Turkey, and the main producers. Well, I just want to acknowledge again MedAID for a fruitful cooperation, and I want to thank you your attention. With these images from our recent volcano eruption in Canary Islands that we hope it will stop causing problems for the people. And thanks so much.
El de introducción, ¿no? Me parece que se llamaba. Este. ¿Es esta, no? ¿Con esta? Con este o con este.
Good morning, and welcome everybody to our final event that we are running today with our twin project, as Marisol said. I'm going to make a very quick introduction. I'm Dolors Furones. I'm part of the MedAID consortium, and I'm just going to give you a glance of what our project is. I hope I will give you a glance. The topic has been introduced both by Germán and Marisol. Is a REUP H 2020 project. We built a large consortium to overtake the goals of this project, and we integrate both EU countries and non-EU countries, which represent the whole Mediterranean basin. So we also, they are represented by a large number of research institutions, companies, international organizations, and we also have the European reference fish disease labs. So we are very pleased to, to do that. The goal was difficult. The scope was very large because we have to take into account all aspects of the value chain and all the characteristics of the Mediterranean basin. So we focused mainly in CBAS and CPRIM, as the topic asked us to do, and covering all aspects to get the competitive sustainability improvement of that. I don't know why this is going backwards when I put up. Sorry. Okay. The structure of the project is like a rhomboid shape. We have an assessment of the sector, of the whole value chain. We wanted to identify from scratch the issues, obviously based in literature and based in already published information, but also in a real-time assessment of what was happening. We overtook that with our work package 1 in close collaboration with our technical work packages. In the figure, we represent the 3 blocks of work packages. We have 3 work packages dealing with the biological component of the production, so technical, nutrition, genetics, and health. We dedicate a whole package for product, consumer acceptance and products, and then 2 work packages dedicated to economics and social acceptability and governance, which we believe it was a very key issue also for our sectors. All the work done in the technical components have been integrated in a work package 8. And we have made a big effort in communicating and transferring our work to all stakeholders. And to do that, you are going to see, we are going to be very privileged, MedAID, because we are going to dedicate most of the day to show us what we've done. To do that, we construct a toolbox, which is our next presentation. In the toolbox, MedAID integrates all the work done in the whole project, both the academic part of the project, the academic outputs, our publications. So far, we have 78 and more coming before the end of the project. We produced 2 manuals, one in fish diseases diagnostics, and another one which is in oral recommendations, two software platforms which are helping the sector to benchmark their performance in comparison with their competitors at the sector overall. And then we have done a big effort in communicating. This has been done through a series of webinars, which have been running through this 2021 year, training courses in all aspects of the technical packages, and a package of recommendations. So there is a big effort making in transferring our work. So Germán, you can be at rest. We have trying to communicate our work. And also you have some metrics of our social impact and our communication effort in the social network. Since time is not in our side and we are going to be able to see all our outputs, I'm just going to tell you that today, this is not the agenda of today, but it covers the topics that we are going to be seeing from our both PerformFish and MedAID people, showing you what we've done. I'm just going to show you, we'll cover main outputs being done in soil techniques, both covering larval rearing, on-growing, genetics, the SNP chip, which has been done in collaboration with PerformFish, and our packaging in health, new products, both new projects and the prototype of new projects, and then the part of more social and economic work, which is being done, covering both the analysis of the production, the market dynamics studying, and the social acceptability. We believe this is a very important issue in aquaculture. So we've done not just the work, but also the methodology to approach it. And this is based in study cases. And we have integrated all that work, as I mentioned before, also in software, which will allow us to compare the producers, their performance with other colleagues and competitors, and all that is being transferred. Today is just the final event. Today we are doing that especially, and we continue doing that along the project. My time is really close, so I think I have to leave it here. And just give the floor to our next presentation, which is Cristóbal Aguilera is presenting the toolbox, and you are going to have a good overview of everything which is coming to go afterwards in the rest of the day. So thank you very much.
Internet, pero bueno, vamos a... Sí. So, hello. Sorry, I'm going to start, and then Cristóbal will help me, and then we are going to exchange. And we wanted both to intervene because we are working together, so we can complement. So what we are presenting today is the development of what we call the MedAID toolbox. A toolbox is a platform for the integration and development of a web-based information platform. This is the contents of the presentation, the objectives, the MedAID toolbox work package integration, how we have conceived the integration of the different work packages, the different themes, and then the description of the toolbox. We will pass you quickly through the inside of the toolbox, so you will have an idea of what we are producing, and when this is open, how you will be able to how you will be able to navigate here. And then finally, the conclusions. First, the toolbox is a useful management system to provide the stakeholders project results, information, guides, recommendations to stakeholders about the components needed to consider a successful, sustainable aquaculture development, which is the main aim of the project. This platform, the toolbox, is a useful information and tools management system inspired in other known toolbox, like other toolbox produced by previous projects as TAPAS or Aquaspace, other toolbox from, for example, the EF from FAO, and other toolboxes. And this is the concept. So how do we have designed this and how we have tried to connect everything? So Cristóbal can explain this better than me.
Okay. Well, the idea, sorry, hello, good morning for everybody. The idea is today to integrate all the information coming of the results and all the work that we are doing during these 3 years in a specific toolbox, as Bernardo said, based essentially in the one work package, which is the EAS, which have the option to integrate and produce recommendations and information, and also add whatever other source of information from this project provided in this project, and also coming from other projects which have the opportunity to provide us some information. The structure and the description that we are doing for this tool is first of all a structure. The structure will be adaptable because help the users to understand which information are inside, how to work, easy assistance with the project results, search or using a methodology to search based on the KPIs, the relevant KPIs, and also the keywords that whatever can introduce unspecific words, and the system have the option to. We can search the document using categories or using documents or whatever, and also providing guiding access to the information. The structure is based in the different technical modules, as Dolores described it. Well, you can follow or you can use the module descriptions. We integrated the tools in a powerful system to have an overview of the deliverables, publications, gate, manuals, and all the repository. And also they add the e-learning, which include the webinar, the training courses, and the courses of videos that we are producing during all these years. An important approach is the recommendations, is the 48 recommendations, don't remember till now, and presented in a fact sheet model usage, very comfortable. You have in the file, you have some examples of that, and also with a multi-stakeholder approach. The idea is arrive as much as possible. And one difference also for us is that we are including not only UA countries, also non-UA countries like other collaborators. Another part integrating is the tools that we are developing during the MedAID as MedAID benchmarking platform that we have the opportunity to present this afternoon. Economic tools developed by a college of Cantabria, watch letter, and other tools. And finally, also beyond the project, we are offering the possibility to add MedAID Toolbox Preview, which is the collaboration of the exploitation plans that we are developing with private companies to maintain elongate as much as possible the useful platform that coming from the project, and don't less any relevant information, and also add value once the project will be finished. Okay, I think we have, this is the entrance to the toolbox. As you see, you can say we have very clear and you can approach this, and let's go. Yes, no? Did you change it? Then. Okay, I'm sorry, because you some changes.
No, this is a small change just to, as Cristóbal was saying, we have the commitment to update this platform. All projects have to maintain alive a platform to disseminate the results, and this platform is going to be updated. So one of the things that we are going to produce every quarter is what we call a watch letter. This watch letter is going to be produced by IRTA, by the strategic department. And the purpose is to update you through search tools they have with information about the different topics that we are covering, including events, publications, course, legislation, patents. And that is the idea. And Cristóbal was saying you can see that we have organize this more or less in the similar structure of the project, thematic structure, with entry to the tools at the end. Today we don't have time to go through this, but just to give you an idea, our purpose is to open the toolbox at the end of the month. So this is the sample of the watch letter that we are going to place every quarter. And this is the entry of one of the sections, the section of health. Let's see, we can enter in the...
Yes, I mean.
El problema es que igual no entramos, ¿sabes?
No.
Bueno, si no,
No web connection.
Bueno, da igual. Okay, well, as we are running out of the time, when we open, we will send you an information of how to enter. It will be open. It has been designed with a search tool in order to allow you to, no, don't worry, to enter and get information about all thematic sections and the information that we are including, documents, report, the recommendation of AZTIs, deliverables, articles. And then from here, you will enter to all these sections. This is a very easy and friendly tool. And we will see if at the end of the day we can enter, but we have to comply with the time and have to give a sample about that. So I think it's better we finish, Cristóbal, and then we pass the floor to the first work package. Just one thing, normally we start from the work package 1 and then go to the others. In this occasion, we have started with the products, economic and marketing and governance work packages. We have done the opposite as we normally do. And we will leave the techniques, health, genetics work package outputs for the afternoon. Okay. So we finish here, and then I invite Irene Peral to come to the floor to present the main results of the work package 5. Okay, you will see that the presentations are one after the other, and at the end of the morning we will have the time for debates. So you have questions, just take note about them, and we will go to that later.
Thank you, Bernardo, and thank you for coming to the MedAID final event. My name is Irene Peral. I'm from AZTI. Yes. And I'm going to give a briefly overview of what we have done in the work package 5, product development, market and consumer assessment. Here you can see the partners of this work package. Well, I'm going to talk briefly about objectives and results of the task of the project, product concept development, market segmentation and target segment profiling, the technical development of new finished products, the market validation studies, and technical and economic feasibility analysis of products. And finally, the conclusions and recommendations of this work package. Well, more product innovation and the development of new products for the new market is clearly needed for a more competitive space or state of the Mediterranean aquaculture. So the main objective in Work Package 5 has been to explore and validate the technical and market feasibility of developing different product alternatives of Mediterranean aquaculture fish species for commercial use and analyze the market opportunities, the consumer requirements and socioeconomic aspects. As secondary objectives, we can mention to identify the best market opportunities for each type of fish species, transforming them into new value-added products, the introduction into new consumer segments, to enhance the competitiveness of Mediterranean aquaculture through a market-oriented design and added value product diversification, to develop new product ideas from this species, to evaluate different market potential for new fish product adoption, to design and develop the new products, and to validate through pilot testing and product market matching studies. Mainly in three countries in the European Union: Spain, France, and Germany. Well, regarding the first task, product concept development, the objective was to develop new product ideas from selected species, incorporating producers, retailers, and commercial actors' input. A market advisory group was engaged to participate in this product concept development step, with participants of economic and business stakeholders from the different steps of aquaculture value chain, fish farmers, processors, retailers, people from HoReCa, companies, and consumer and professional organizations, who took part in co-creation workshops and interviews. In all, 24 players across the entire fish value chain from 7 European countries participate in this study. As results, trends, drivers, and challenges to apply for production, product, and market strategies were identified. As trends: betterment, local origin and helpful, and ad hoc products and specific solutions for different consumer segments. The main drivers: healthcare and convenience, food quality and safety, traceability, animal welfare and sustainability, and also the challenges related to sector, market, consumer, product, and offer. Finally, product ideas were generated to adapt the product for different consumption moments, to introduce fish into younger generations and answer specific targets' needs, to develop healthy and convenient aquaculture fish, processed products, and to build experiences around aquaculture. Regarding task 2, market segmentation and target segment profiling, the objective was to distinguish the market into segments and profile them according to different characteristics, like food-related lifestyle, frequency of buying and consuming fish, and some psychological and socio-demographic characteristics. Also, qualitative research with consumers was performed through focus group studies in Spain, France, and Germany. Also, a textual analysis of the information generated. And finally, a screening of ideas based on the market advisory group, the focus group data, using technical, economic, and market assessment criteria. As conclusions of the market segmentation, there are 4 segments interesting for the aquaculture market. The first segment with promise for these products can be named adventurous food consumers, and the second, the rational food consumers. Both are involved in fish categories, are familiar with sea bass and sea bream, eat fish frequently, and are willing to buy new aquaculture fish products. Regarding the focus group, the different countries generated 78 new fish product ideas, and the highest score, 15, were considered for the product development step. The screening of ideas the results, the ideas of products were rated and scored according to different criteria: target approach, consumer, children, senior; distribution channel to which the product is mainly focused, retailer, HoReCa, farmer, or fish processing; the 3 main decision criteria: health, innovativeness, and convenience criteria; and the degree of acceptance in each country; and finally, products raw or more high processed products. In task 3, technical development of new fish products, we have generated in this step 8 new products for the sector. The objective was to design and develop these concepts at pilot scale with specific characteristics according to those identified in the previous steps. The characterization of the raw materials have been done. And finally, 4 product prototypes were developed and 4 products selected for the industrial scale-up. Here you can see the products briefly. The market validation step included product pilot testing with consumers in Spain and in home use test, and online questionnaires in 2 European countries, in France and Germany. And also a product market studies and fish packaging design studies involving consumers in this research. Just to advance. And finally, we have studied the technical and economic feasibility of products. Developing the technical data sheet, the analysis of economic feasibility, necessary infrastructures, and packaging specification and labeling to make this information easy for the industrialization of the products. 4 product case studies have been developed. And finally, as recommendations, as a general recommendation to develop strategies to change the general awareness and break down consumers' preconception about the market, focus new product on new consumer segments, working on a wider range of products, to target the promotion of aquaculture products to new segments of consumers, to emphasize in the marketing the benefits of aquaculture, especially in terms of taste and nutritional quality, and regarding new fish product ideas, to use qualitative research to incorporate the consumer's voice in this generation of product ideas and in the generation of the new products for the market. And according to this, to launch products taking into account the specific demands and needs of each target country, because there are big differences between countries. And as raw materials, improvements in fish collecting and processing, as an extended freshness is directly related to the quality, and implementation on improved packaging conditions. And well, this is more or less, I wanted to speak more, but we have no time. If you have any question, we can answer after the presentations. Thank you.
My name is Raquel Llorente from AZTI. I'm going to show you the aquaculture seafood product innovation in MedAID project. First of all, I would like to start my presentation with a brief introduction. As you know, aquaculture is one of the sectors for seafood production with high potential of growth, which allow the suitable maintenance of fish consumption in the world. However, most of the aquaculture products are commercialized as fish whole or few processes. On the other hand, concepts as natural, healthy, convenience, ready to eat, flavor, format are demanded by consumers. Taking into account the current consumer demands and the lack of aquaculture products in the market, the development of new aquaculture product would be an opportunity to increase the commercial value and profitability of Mediterranean aquaculture value chain. The result that I present today has been obtained within the task 5.3, where new aquaculture fish product concept has been designed and developed at pilot scale by means of greenhouse bream, sea bass, and meager in order to increase the overall competitiveness and sustainability of the Mediterranean marine fish farming sector. We have divided the process for developing new aquaculture fish products in 3 steps. In the first step, we have done the final selection prototypes using a screening workshop to evaluate and classify the different ideas and concepts to select the final prototypes. In the second step, we have done the raw material characterization by nutritional, physicochemical, and microbiological analysis to analyze their technological aptitude to be processed industrially. And the last step was the prototype design and development step, in order to where we have to do formulation matrix and processes from lab scale to pilot scale up. Regarding to the first step of final selection prototypes, all ideas obtained from croquet creation and focus group and market segmentation studies obtained in previous tasks were classified by different criteria: target or consumer, distribution channel to which the product is mainly focused, claim or main decision criteria, degree of acceptance in each country, and degree of processing. After technical feasibility criteria were analyzed, we have obtained a selection of the most promising product ideas to be developed in the final step. In the second step of product development, different fish samples from Gilgel, sea bream, sea bass, and migger were characterized. As main conclusion of this study, we could say that freshness is a crucial parameter for product processing and depends mainly on a short logistic distribution, the application of good manufacturing practice, and packaging condition. Freshness and good manufacturing practice affect to the microbiological count, cooking loss, color of fish muscle, and texture properties. Another important parameter for developing new products is the nutritional profile or raw material, because they can affect to the final nutritional properties of the final marketed seafood product. For example, as we can see in the table, different fatty acid profile was obtained depending on the origin of raw material. The organic fish samples had higher omega-3 and DH fatty acid content than non-organic. Finally, in the last step, 8 Mediterranean aquaculture fish product prototypes were designed and developed using sea bream, sea bass, and migger as raw material, meeting the criteria of health, innovativeness, and convenience. 4 of them were scaled up in the AZTI's pilot plant in Derio, producing batches of about 200 packs of each prototype for consumer studies and safety quality control. The 2 first products are minimal processing prototypes from sea bass and Gilgel sea bream. They are frozen mince block and fish block prototypes. They are intermediate prototypes to be used by HoReCa and food industry. The next group of prototypes cover the concept of convenience on ready-to-eat. They contain from 66 to 95% of fish muscle content. And the last 3 prototypes are obtained from fish fillet. They are minimal processing fish fillet, product packaged as raw, cured process, or by a pasteurization process. Among them, 4 has been selected for consumer studies and scale up in the AZTI pilot plan. The first one is a pasteurized stuffed sea bass with lemon dressing. The next one is a frozen migger fish burger with mushroom. The third one is a frozen sea bream crunchy fish sticks. And the last one is a pasteurized organic sea bream fillet with couscous. With this result, we can conclude that product developed could be an interesting alternative to improve the commercial profitability of aquaculture fish species and the market success. They show an excellent nutritional profile and high quality sensory properties due to their flavor, taste, and texture properties. They also present convenience advantages, ready to eat, no bones, and cell life improvement that fit consumer needs. The results achieved are expected to contribute to product and process development in the Mediterranean aquaculture value chain. Here you can see the AZTI group working in this study, and thank you very much for your attention.
Laura.
Hi, good morning. Well, I'm Laura López, and together with my colleague Alejandra, we are going to talk about which is the best packaging for fish product designed by consumers and validated through neuroscience. So the content of this presentation is, well, first of all, a brief a brief introduction, and then I will talk about the packaging design, and Alejandra will talk about the validation of this packaging through neuroscience, then the conclusion of the work carried out, and then further information. So first of all, a brief introduction. Food packaging is a powerful marketing tool that is able to affect consumers' food choices and be the most influential communication element at the point of purchase. So incorporating consumers' opinion during packaging design could increase its success in the market. For this reason, we decided to involve consumers in packaging design, and we led them to choose which visual attributes they like the most and which textual attributes they like the most. So with this information, we designed two packaging designs according to their preference, and those were validated through neuroscience with the final aim of obtaining the best packaging of a fish product, also designed within the work package 5. In this case, it was a meager fish burger with mushrooms. So I will start with the first part, with the packaging design. To do so, we did a survey with 200 Spanish consumers, and the question that we asked them was, for example, for the type of container, for a sea and mountain burger, which container would you like the most? And then just needed to choose the option that they like the most. In this case, it was the preferred option. It was a tray with 67% of the selections. And we did exactly the same for other visual attributes as the color of container, the windows present, the typeface, the image presence, and so on. And we also let consumers to choose the textual attributes that they like the most. And here you could see the results. We divided those attributes in 3 groups, as you could see. And well, we identified that consumers wanted some claims related with the price and the recyclability, and also the freshness in the first place and novelty in the second place, and some claim related with animal welfare and health. And to sum up, we let consumers to choose the visual and the textual attributes that they like the most. And with this information, we designed 2 packaging according to their preference. Here you could see in the white tray, it was the option that they like the most. And in on the right, you could see the option that they like the most in the second place. And those packaging were the ones that were validated through neuroscience. And Alejandra, could you explain it? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Well, we use these 2 packagings designed with consumers and also 2 other packagings that were already in the market. And we follow a methodology using both physiological and emotional measures and self-reported measures. We use eye tracking for visual attention, galvanic skin response to get emotional intensity, automatic facial expression analysis to have information about the emotional direction. As well, we ask the participants about their preference by means of ranking, acceptability, purchase probability questions. And also we did a very short interview at the end asking participants which were the parts of the packagings that they liked the most and the least. We conducted this study with 40 participants following the design that you can see here in the diagram. And as results, we start with visual attention. Visual attention metrics as time to first fixation, fixation counts, and revisit counts showed that consumers' design get most of the attention for the packagings. As you can see here in the heat maps, The parts that catch more attention are the ones that are marked in red. And about the packaging designed by consumers, the claims that had informational attributes were the most attended. About other physiological and emotional measures, with GSR and automatic facial expression analysis, we saw that emotional response was higher and more positive for packaging options designed by consumers. In the case of the white tray, this was the packaging that get most positive emotions, and the bag was the packaging that get most negative emotions. Also, with the self-reported measures, we can confirm the preference for the products packed in the white tray with full window, ready-to-eat picture, recyclability, animal welfare, and freshness claim following consumers' designs. So as conclusions, we can say that incorporating consumer in packaging design has proven to be a cost-effective way to design packaging for fish products, to fulfill consumer demands, and this could lower the failure rate of new products launched to the market. So our recommendation is to incorporate consumer voice during this fish packaging design. And also we have proven that consumers have clear preference for specific package attributes, both visual and textual. In this case, the recommendation is to select the package attributes preferred by consumers when designing the packaging of new fish products or modify existing ones. If you are interested in our research, you can visit us at the e-poster session tomorrow at the social societal issues, and also look up for the following publications. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, with these flash presentations, we end with the Work Package 5 on product development of MedAID, and then we invite also the leader of the Work Package 5 again for consumer assessment, and Ekaterina Tribilustova from Eurofish. Madre mía. Aquí estamos. Ya estoy otra vez con esto. ¿Sí le puedo entrar? ¿Sí le puedo entrar? Sí. Bueno. Yours is. This is yours, right? Yes.
Thank you very much, Bernardo. Good morning, everybody, dear colleagues, friends, collaborators, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of PerformFish and Work Package 5, I would like to thank MedAID and express that we are pleased to be here and express our gratitude for the very fruitful collaboration during all those years. So perhaps many of you are familiar with the Albert Einstein statement. Information in its pure form is not knowledge. The real source of information is experience. So this is first part of the 20th century. Probably some of you are also heard the statement of Robert Cialdini. This is an American researcher that in addition to experience, in order that information would transfer into knowledge, it needs to be processed. It needs to be received, stored, analyzed, integrated, and saved. So what do we do in PerformFish with the information now in 2021? So you know that this EU European Commission project started in May 2017, and it's led by Katerina Mato, associate professor at the University of Thessaly. PerformFish brings together 28 partners from 10 countries, including 5 national producer associations in Italy, Spain, Greece, Croatia, and France. And the share of sea bass and sea bream production in the EU, represented by this producer association, is almost 93%. Today, I will present you shortly some examples of the conclusions in work package 5 in PerformFish from 2 tasks. So task 1 is analysis of the market for sea bass and sea bream products. And second task is analysis of consumer perceptions and habits. And we will take a look at 6 markets. So usually we analyze 7, but the last market, the USA, is under the progress, and we still have several months to conclude this market. So we'll take a look at Italy, Spain, Greece, France, Germany, and the UK. So, of course, we have very detailed conclusions for each market, but now to give you some common lines, I would like to make your attention about the apparent markets for sea bass and sea bream in those countries. Apparent markets, so we mean that availability of sea bass and sea bream on those markets, the minimum availability. And of course, Italy is by far the largest market for sea bass and sea bream in the world. So it accounts for 1/3 of the global market for sea bass and sea bream. Spain is the second largest market for sea bass and sea bream. We have the level of at least 43,000 tons for 2016. Then Greece is the third largest market with a volume of 24,000 tons. And Greece is also the market with the highest per capita consumption of sea bass and sea bream. So then we have France, almost 23,000 tons. And then the French market is also famous for the a very special feature that the availability of wild sea bass and sea bream in France is the highest compared to other markets. Then we have 2 other emerging markets, Germany and the UK, which are also very prominent. Germany is the largest importer of sea bass and sea bream compared to other emerging markets, while the UK is the largest consumption market for sea bass and sea bream. And here we have also the explanation that part of the sea bass and sea bream imported into Germany is further supplied to the UK market. So we have detailed description of the market development, market structure, the composition, ratio, how sea bass and sea bream are sold in the retail, in HoReCa, which channels in the modern retail, and all possible details, market segmentation, origin, and so on, certifications for each market. But for example, about Italy, we can say that sea bream is the leading species in the household consumption of fresh and chilled fish species, while sea bass is among top 6 species consumed in the country. Italy has also the highest development rates among traditional markets. Then it's very interesting to see the segmentation of countries of origin of sea bass and sea bream. And then, of course, in Italy, for example, sea bass of Italian origin estimates 21%, while sea bass of Greek origin estimates 46%. But these data are constructed in this way. It's not linear. For example, you know that sea bass and sea bream are traded via special hubs, and then, for example, the way they can be also packed and processed. So we applied special coefficients and also analyzed the trade hubs, how sea bass and sea bream are traded into the final market. So here we have the detailed estimations of the real origin of fish on each market. While in the traditional markets, we have the dominance of the European produced sea bass and sea bream. In the emerging markets, you see the example of Germany and the UK, Turkey has the largest share. And this is the example of both sea bass and sea bream in Germany and sea bass and sea bream in the UK. Also, an interesting slide about the wild versus farmed sea bass and sea bream availability on the market. And while in Italy and Greece, the estimation, of course, these are very rough estimations. We try to do it as much as possible to the detailed composition, but then we estimated up to 2% for wild species. In Spain, it's up to 4%. And in France, wild sea bass and sea bream are estimated up to 24% for wild sea bass and 7% for wild sea bream. So what about the preferences and expectations of consumers? So PerformFish is using a participatory approach, which involves consumers in the co-creation of the common marketing of European sea bass and sea bream products. And this consumer-oriented approach contributes to the very deep understanding of the consumer habits, preferences, aspirations, and motivation factors, how they choose sea bass and sea bream, how they buy it, and what do they express about the products. So therefore, it provides PerformFish with an opportunity to improve image of sea bass and sea bream in the aquaculture production in general. So we have carried out consumer surveys in 6 countries. UNIBO, the University of Bologna, was the leader in this task. And then in addition to the questionnaires and 4 parts of the questionnaire, starting from social demographics, then to consumer habits, aspirations, preferences, and so on. So then we applied the multiple correspondence analysis and cluster analysis to define typological groups based on dimensions selected previously and corresponding to the section of the survey. So we could form various consumer clusters in different countries, which gives us also an understanding on the reaction of consumers and how they are motivated in their choice of the products and where do they use to buy products, how do they choose the labels, how do they read labels, how do they trust the sellers, and all these specificities. Very few examples about the results when we compare all the 6 countries. For example, typical product forms of sea bass and sea bream for purchases. So how consumers choose different products. For example, what is interesting here, we see that Italy chooses both fresh whole, fresh, and fresh fillets. Consumers in Greece mostly opt for fresh whole, 66%. Consumers in Germany basically opt for fresh fillets, fresh gutted, and frozen fillets, while consumers in the UK show very high preference for fresh fillets, 77%. Preferred places for purchase of sea bass and sea bream, these are supermarket and multiple modern retail chains and fishmonger specialist stores. So this is common for many countries, but if you take a look at specific countries, you see that open air markets, this is especially valid for Spain, Greece, Italy, and the traditional Mediterranean countries, while if you see the restaurants as the preferred place for purchase of sea bass and sea bream, there we can note the high indication of consumers from Germany and the UK. The very important slide, preference regarding production methods of sea bass and sea bream. And if you can see in the center, we have expressions and the opinions of consumers regarding farmed sea bass and sea bream. And Italy has the highest preference for purchasing farmed sea bass and sea bream, 29%. This is followed by Germany, 25%, by Greece, 21%, and other countries. But in general, if we compare it to the preference of wild sea bass and sea bream, nevertheless, all the countries except Italy indicate the highest preference for wild products. And consumers in the UK have the highest number in the answers of no preference, 47%. Which indicates a lack of information and then potential information informing consumers in the better way. In all the countries, consumers are eager to try new sea bass and sea bream products. Most of them would like to taste them at home, in the restaurants, bars, and sales points, and so on and so on. Most preferred sources for obtaining information, of course, they're very different from country to country, but in general, consumers' own experience and habits, internet and fish store, employees' advice from them. These are top preferred sources for obtaining information about fish and seafood in general. Consumers indicate the level of importance of various aspects about the product label of sea bass and sea bream when they evaluate and when they actually do the purchase. So origin of sea bass and sea bream products, expiration date, date of catch and harvest, indication of production method, and certification schemes are very, very important for all the countries. We have the longer list, but then this information can be found in the reports. And then the preference in terms of origin, the country of origin or the region of origin. So, of course, the major European producing countries indicate the national and local products preference. So, and this is for Spain, Italy, Greece. Greece has a very high level, naturally, as the biggest producer, 78%, then France, and so on. Germany logically indicates the products from the EU with the highest level and products outside of the EU, also the highest compared to other countries. So this all gives us like inclinations and understanding of how we act in each market. And of course, all the markets are very different, but there is a common growing interest in sea bass and sea bream value-added products, which we can note from all the markets. Innovative forms of products, innovative products of services and sales. And there are similar reasons for non-consuming sea bass and sea bream across the surveyed countries. Too expensive, then sensory attributes like not liking the smell or taste of fish, too many bones and difficult to prepare. So these are classic reasons for consideration for non-consuming sea bass and sea bream. Then in many markets, we have selected consumer clusters, especially we can highlight sustainability-driven consumers, ethical consumers, active consumers, premium, and families with children. And all these clusters indicate the origin of sea bass and sea bream, freshness and quality as the top factor for the choice and information that they pay most attention to. And origin and the date of catch and harvest are the most important elements that consumers also miss when they buy unpackaged sea bass and sea bream products. But there is still incomplete knowledge and clarity of information on the label, and partly the trust to the seller or to the sources where they buy sea bass and sea bream products. So we need more value-added products, innovative forms of products, and we hope that all these structured information is ready to turn into experience for the European aquaculture industry. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Katerina. So we are moving to the next work package, which is the work package on economics and on marketing. The work package leader, Jose Manuel Fernandez Polanco, is not with us today, but he has recorded a video that we are going to show you. Okay. If I am able to close this. What is the video here? Please, I would like you to help me with the sound. So this is a video, and we have sound. And no, but you don't have. Cannot we have the? But here you have a speaker, no?
Also on the screen.
What can I do for, because the sound?
Can you test?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes.
Arising from the analysis of demand taken in several. Good morning. I'm going to introduce the main findings and recommendations arising from the analysis of demand taken in several of the tasks involved in working package 6. One of the main findings regarding the behavior of demand regards to price elasticity, we have found that this is quite a strong price effect. And well, it actually is the strongest effect on the quantities demanded, and which means that consumers are quite price sensitive. Any change in the price levels is followed by a significant change in the quantities sold in the market. Well, this is common of competitive markets with low product differentiation, so it's not a surprise. We have also found a strong substitution effect, substitution across species and substitution across countries. On one side, prices of sea bass and supreme are correlated, which means that the price of one of the species is limiting the changes in the prices of the other. So in this sense, in the market, sea bass and supreme operate as some kind of direct competitors. And to this substitution across the species, we can also add substitution across different companies, especially different companies from different countries of origin. We cannot, with the available data, we cannot identify the companies individually, but we can perfectly identify whether these companies are in one country or on another. So finally, what we can see is in the analysis of data is that there is a strong competition across countries of origin which are producing the same species, in this case, sea bass and supreme. And finally, there is another interesting finding which has to do with so-called income elasticity. We found that sea bass and supreme demand is income elastic. This means that the volumes of demand change according to the disposable income of consumers. So when the income increases, sales also increase, and vice versa. When the income decreases, then the sales also decrease. This gives us information about the market, and on one side, it informs about the perceived quality of the product. In economics, this kind of products are known as superior goods. Superior goods means that they have some superior quality which justifies that consumers with higher levels of income will be willing to purchase them, or will be increasing their purchases when they have more money available. On the other side, also informs about the existence of market segments. So these segments of the population with incomes over the average will be willing to pay for certain quality products, or sorry, quality attributes of these products. We have identified in one of our tasks that certain attributes also increase consumers willing to pay and actually increase the real market prices. These are attributes such as country of origin, production systems, such as organic, aquaculture, brackish water, aquaculture, convenience, and another kind of value-added attributes. These three findings allows us producing some strategic recommendations. Well, from the comments I gave talking about income elasticity, we can suggest or recommend to improve the knowledge about market segmentation. It's not enough with knowing that we have a given segment which is proactive or favorable to consumption of aquaculture products, or sea bass and sea bream in particular. We need to have more information about these segments. We need to know who they are, where do they purchase their fish, what are the sources of information they use, which are considerable, reliable, and some other information which allows us to specifically target a given segment, not to spread policies focusing on targets we have not properly located. So we need to make accurate estimations as well as the size and the value of these segments. So we know that there are segments, groups of population who might be more active or more favorable towards aquaculture in general, but most of the research still lacks in estimating how many they are. What is the real size of the product, or sorry, of the segment, and what is the value we can get from that segment? So how much are they willing to pay for the characteristics they are saying they demand on fish products? Finally, we need to rank these segments according to their profitability and decide which segments are we going to target, whether we are going to target any segment with a specific marketing policy, or we will keep working in a market which undifferentiated product, which means a strong dependency on the price levels. Once we have identified profitable segments, the next recommendation is to develop products which are directly driven to those segments, fitting with the special requirements of these segments. In other words, produce differentiated products for these target segments. We need to identify what are the attributes that the segment is really valuing. So which kind of attributes in the fish represent value added for the consumers, and then develop these attributes and marketing this product differentiated through these attributes. In order to take on with this differentiated strategy, there is a need of resources. Of course, both the research on the segment, on the market segments, and the development of pre-differentiated products requires investments, and so they require the resources, economic resource. They involve costs. In order to support better these costs, one of the recommendations, the general recommendations in our working package, is to move towards concentration in supply. We need, on one side, economies of scale, and on the other side, we need the price transmission along the value chain. In order to secure both requirements, both economies of scale and price transmission, larger concentrations of supply work much better, or are easier to achieve these two goals. Further, a differentiated marketing strategy might, to say it in simplistic words, might survive the trip on the value chain. This means that it's not enough that I differentiate my product as a farmer. I need that wholesalers, processors, wholesalers, and retailers also work toward the differentiation of the product. We need to have the implication of the different agents along the value chain, especially those who are at the downstream end, those who are in contact with the final consumers. This must be done through alliances. Obviously, there are the choices of integration, but vertical integration downward from the farms is quite difficult. It even needs more resources than the differentiated strategy we want to succeed with. And upward integration is being put in place, but some retail chains and agents in the trading levels of the value chain. But this is also not enough, because it doesn't affect all the companies. It will not involve all the companies, nor the majority of the companies in the silversand sector. So one good alternative is to the development of alliances, joint ventures along different members of the value chain, different agents in different levels of the supply chain. This is another recommendation, to explore all these potential alliances, joint ventures, or any kind of agreement which secures the success of a specific differentiated product for a valued segment. Summarizing, we found that market segmentation and product differentiation, they are still potential improvements for the performance of the bass and bream industry in the markets. They require optimal company dimension and solid partnerships in the supply chain in order to secure both economies of scale and price transmission, perfect price transmission along the supply chain. We now live in a moment of uncertainty. So disruptions caused by COVID-19 are still unknown. We know what has been the short-term impacts. We expect that there will be some long-term impacts, especially that might affect the behavior of demand. We still need to wait to see what are the real changes that will come with this episode. Anyway, if we focused on the situation we have today, we are talking about increasing investment in market segmentation and product differentiation after a period in which so many companies have seen their volumes of sales and prices contracted. So probably we are not in the best financial situation for a company in this industry to undertake new investments. So we guess that only companies with moderate debt levels and with optimal liquidity will be able to develop differentiated strategies in the very short term. But in the mid-term, companies, especially medium companies, should consider explore potentialities of differentiation, even at the scale of local markets, for the years to come. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, we don't know if you are following us, Pepe. Anyway, thank you very much. So you have seen we have passed from products to markets, and now we are going to have two presentations about economics of production. So Manuel Luna, let me, okay.
Hello, I'm Manuel Luna, and I'm presenting the production optimization in aquaculture based on data science and artificial intelligence techniques. I would like to take this opportunity not only to briefly summarize the methods developed and the results, but also to introduce our work to move those methods from theory to practice. Our main objective is to develop new optimization techniques using artificial intelligence and data science in order to improve the decision-making process in sea bream and sea bass farms. To do that, we have followed an incremental innovation model with increasingly complex techniques and methods. Yeah. First of all, we have used a multiple criteria decision-making methodology in order to integrate new decision criteria, such as the environmental sustainability or the final product quality ones, together with the traditional economic criteria. Then we have started with some easy or static decisions, such as the feeding strategy or the using different scenarios of uncertainty. And finally, we have addressed from our point of view, the most important strategy in aquaculture, that is the production strategy. So we have selected the four main decisions: the seeding date, the fingerling type, the feed selection or feeding strategy, and the harvesting date. And we have tried to optimize those four decisions for each farm, for each cage of the farm, and for each batch. So to do this, we have used an artificial intelligence technique called particle swarm optimization, in which many different particles follows a intelligent process to find an optimal or near optimal strategy. Results shows that these methods are capable of optimizing the results of a farm, a small or medium farm, not only from the economic point of view with the profit of the farm, but also from the point of view of the environmental criteria or the product quality criteria. So, as I said before, our ultimate objective is to move those methods from theory to practice. So we have started to work to address this problem for real farms that are actually really big, with more than 80 cages in different locations and with new and complex problems. To do this, we have used parallel programming to run these methods in supercomputers or in web clouds, such as those of Amazon or Google. And we have improved our results, and now we can address the problem for big farms with more than 100 or 200 cages in just 10 minutes or 20 minutes. We have also introduced a criteria of risk, trying to develop a comprehensive risk model with not only with the traditional market or operational risk, but also with new ones, such as the reputational, the legal risk, or the environmental risk. And finally, we are trying to integrate all these models and all these methods in a web application, in a decision support systems that allows non-expert users to simulate and to optimize their production strategy with real data. And well, just 3 or 4 conclusions about that. The first of all is our recommendation of using more criteria, not only the economic one, but also the environmental sustainability ones or the final product quality. Then just to recommend to trust in these methods of that data science or artificial intelligence techniques because they can improve and change the industry forever from our point of view. And then that this web application and decision support system has to be developed for all the methods, because they are easily usable by non-expert users. And at the same time, they are quick and efficient enough to address the problem for the biggest farms of the aquaculture industry. And well, this is just a brief summary of our work, but here you have some publication and you have my email. If you have any question, I will respond. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Manuel. Well, just to let you know that the tool they have talked about, AquaAid, is already available on internet, and we will link it through the MedAID toolbox. Okay. So let's continue. José Luis, please. Vamos a ver. ¿Dónde te tengo a ti? Aquí. Hello, everyone. I'm Professor José Luis Fernández from University of Cantabria. I also research in the EAS research group in this university. And I would like to present you the main results and conclusions of tax 6.5 included in the work package 6 of this MedAID project. So my presentation, the structure is, first I give you some figures about the importance of this sector, sea bass and sea bream production in Europe, and the main objective of this task. I will follow with some issues related to the methodology used in the analysis and the scenarios of production employed in this analysis. And finally, I share with you the main results and conclusions with some recommendations of our analysis. And I have included at the end some work examination we have done in these years. Okay, well, all we know about the importance of this sector in Europe, about sea bass and sea bream production, you know, this is sea bass and sea bream are the main both two of the main species of aquaculture production in Europe after salmon. It represents about 38% of the total value of the European aquaculture sector. And also, Europe is one of the largest producers of sea bass and sea bream in the whole world. Being Greece, the first producer, with around 60% of the production, followed by Spain. And we have we have other European countries with smaller productions around Europe, like France, Italy, Chipre, or Croatia, for example. Well, we all know about the importance of this sector. And also we know about this industry is an industry with a high economic competitiveness in Europe, in which the profitability of the farms, of producers, of the operations is very important and very sensible to different operational factors and production scenarios. But so far, we don't have many knowledge about this importance of these operational factors. We know we have a scar of knowledge about that. Okay, so the purpose of this task was to evaluate how some changes in some of these operational parameters in the production of sea bass and sea bream specifically were 8 different parameters in the model. How these changes will impact on the operating revenues and costs and the financial results of, in this case, of a typical European production facility, hatchery or grow-up farm, culturing sea bass or sea bream in the Mediterranean Sea. So the methodology was to create a model to simulate the annual income statement or a typical farm or a typical facility using data obtained in the project in Work Package 1 about different facilities producing sea bass and sea bream in the Mediterranean. And we use that data to obtain the average value of the different parameters we employed in this model to simulate the effects or the impacts of the changes in the different parameters and how these changes impacted in the economic results of this typical farm. This is the work. Here you have in the table, in the first table, you have the 4 scenarios we employed for usage in the deliverable published in this project. We had the first scenario is related to a hatchery producing sea bass and sea bream juveniles. And in the other scenarios, we have a typical grow-up farm producing, well, we have different characteristics. We change the different characteristics of the farm to analyze the effect of the changes. We have followed with this research and we had to change some of the values of the parameter on the scenarios used in the analysis. And in the following research we have done, we have created 9 different scenarios of production, changing the farm size. For example, we use 3 different sizes of farms, micro, small, and medium-large farms. And we also changed the size of the fish produced in the farms. And here we have 3 different production strategies. Okay. So, well, this is the main results of the analysis. The first main result is the importance of the price for the farmer, because it's the parameter with the largest impact on profits in all scenarios for hatcheries and grow-up farms. In the case of hatcheries, following the price, we have the survival rate and the harvested weight are very important for the economic results of these hatcheries. And parameters with lower importance for farmers is the feed unit cost and the feed conversion ratio. On the other hand, for example, for grow-out farms, in the other scenarios, we have that variations in the survival rate and feed unit cost and feed conversion ratios are very important parameters for producers, because we have a very high impact on the changes of those parameters. On the other hand, variations in the harvested weight or on the figurine unit costs, the importance of these parameters are lower. Okay, the main conclusions and recommendations. We want to stress the importance of using these simulation models to analyze some important decisions for farmers. I think it's very important to use these tools to analyze some important decisions related with different technical management improvements in the farms. For example, these models can be employed to analyze and to estimate the direct costs of some diseases and the economic impact of these farms. For example, we have already published a paper published in Aquaculture Journal. And these models can be also employed, is the next future work, to employ the economic impact on farms, for example, related with feeding improvements in the farms, Also how some environmental restrictions in how is the impact, the economic impact on these farms. Finally, this is the board dissemination. I would like to show you two important academic journals. The first is already published in Aquaculture Journal. It's about the economic estimation of some diseases on sea bass production farms. The other work is under revision in Aquaculture Economics and Management, and is related with the economic impact of these 9 different scenarios. Well, we have published, I will have presented some of these results in other conference, and that's all. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Okay, so let's continue. So we finish with the work package on economics and marketing, and we move to the work package on governance, social acceptability, social aspects. Jose Perez. Jose, he's coming. Okay. ¿Es este, no? ¿O es este? Sí, sí, sí. Vale.
Thank you very much. So my name is Jose Perez. I'm economist at IRTA in France. I'm the work package leader of this the work package named Social Acceptability and Governance. So I will present a very synthetical overview of the issues addressed and the main results of this work package. So the contents of this presentation, it's a quick introduction. I will present the main objectives of this work package 7. We will also present how we have addressed this complex social acceptability notion. We will finish with some concluding remarks. So I will start my talk just with saying that the history of aquaculture is development is driven by new technology. So if you go around this conference, you can realize that the majority of the material is related to technology, engineering issues, etc. But aquaculture development is also a social concern. It's not only technology. So because they are talking about the use of collective resources, competition between users. So we are talking about society, territories, conflicts of use, etc. So it's also related to social dimensions, which are today a key issue for policymaking. If we take the recent dynamics of this sector in the EU, we are facing dynamics of stagnation quantitatively. So, and this, so instead of the political impetus and the quantity of the amount of financial means allocated to the development of aquaculture. So there is something wrong on all this. So these social dimensions are addressed. So it's not nothing new. So, but the social dimensions are addressed. There's an emphasis of the need to consider these social dimensions since the emergence of a sustainability concept. This is also integrated in more recent governance frameworks, such as integrated coastal management, ecosystem approach, marine spatial planning, etc. So today, social acceptability is appearing as a new approach, new concept, new framework to address the social issues. And so the work package 7 of MedAID is about how to address in a practical way these social issues. So the main objectives of this work package 7 is firstly, understanding the social bottlenecks of aquaculture development. So that was addressed in task 1 of 3. Secondly, accompanying strategy to enhance social acceptability of aquaculture. So our colleagues from GFCM and FAO will present that in more details in the next presentation. And testing protocols and tools for stakeholders engagement, which is one of the key challenges also in the framework of social acceptability and governance. So addressing social acceptability. So beyond this complex and abstract notion, so we have two different perspectives to analyze the social acceptability. So the first one is the private sphere. So this is about the perception and the attitudes of people, of citizens, of the global, all stakeholders about aquaculture, and which is relying on their behavior, the behavior of private companies. And so that relies on the notion of corporate responsibility, but which again is the private sphere. And we have also the public sphere, since this, social acceptability is a social process that leads to the acceptance or the rejection of a public decision. So that relies on coastal zone management, marine spatial planning, etc., and how to involve stakeholders in decision making into a participatory approach. So the private sphere were more explored, analyzed in the Greek case study of this, the task 3 of this work package. And the more public sphere issues were explored in 2 case studies, one in Tunisian case study, in Monastir, and the second one in the Spanish case study in work with the regional agency in charge of developing aquaculture. So unhappily, we will not have time for more details about that. So I will finish with some concluding remarks, something which is important from all the work done in this work package. First one is the institutional gaps that are linked to the social acceptability issues. So there are institutional gaps between top-level institutions and the local institutions. Since planning processes are mostly based on technical approaches driven by external objectives. And in many situations, these objectives don't match with the social complexity in local territories and in the social needs from the local communities. There is also lack of stakeholders' involvement. So there is no transfer of skills from traditional territorial approaches, and there is a lack of integrating of stakeholders in these decision-making processes. There is no territorial facilitation and the absence of long-run consultation bodies. So we are into planning in shorter periods with administrative urgencies, etc., and that's a big difficulty to increase social acceptability. And something which is linked to that is the absence of adapted institutional frameworks to properly address these social issues in local planning. So there is no means for local administrations, concrete means to address and to accompany these social interactions about aquaculture development. And last, the reduced view of social dimensions in many cases, which are mainly focused on gender issues, salaries, and conditions of employment, which are obviously very important, but social issues are must be considered in a larger vision, as with integrating all these interactions between stakeholders, conflicts of use, and all governance issues. So, on last slide, so we have observed different context, economic, sociocultural context, but we find finally same considerations about social acceptability. So they are common drivers, common driving factors of social acceptability in Europe, but also in third countries, which is quite consistent with we have observed in the literature, specific literature about these factors of social acceptability. This social acceptability is not a dichotomic issue. It's not acceptance, yes or not, but it is also responding to the perception of aquaculture by citizens depend on the type of aquaculture proposed. So that questions or that are asked to different scenarios proposed to citizens and to be accepted by local communities. And lastly, we have to pay attention to the fishing sector, so the difficulties where they are facing. And so in many case studies, we have observed a key stakeholder group facing aquaculture development because they have to share common spaces. And so addressing this development of aquaculture needs to also address the sustainability of fisheries. This is obviously needs to be considered not only fishermen, but also the whole of the other activities, local activities. So we need to move to more integrative and integrated governance in coastal zone management. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Right. Yes. Okay, good morning to everyone. My name is Davide Fezzardi, and I have been working as aquaculture consultant for FAO for this project. This project, Work Package 7, was partly implemented by the FAO and the General Fisheries Commission for the Mediterranean. And the main objective was to prepare the guidelines in support of social acceptability for aquaculture development. So the work that has been done produced these draft guidelines. And I would like to highlight here that the proposed guidelines will be presented at the next session of the General Fisheries Commission of the Mediterranean that will take place in November 2021. So why guidelines? We have just heard from Jose the theory and why social acceptability is so important. So we know now that from many studies, but also from practical example worldwide, that social acceptability is now a key driver for further aquaculture development. And failing to take into account the social aspects of aquaculture and the acceptability of the sector has brought to many failures in projects all around the world. So despite the many studies carried out on social aspects, no guidelines were produced so far in the Mediterranean. Looking at the overall methodology that it was undertaken to prepare the guidelines, we had a regional survey that was organized by FAO and GFCM, followed by 2 stakeholder workshops that was undertaken at a regional level. So coming to the regional survey, it was an appraisal of these critical factors that are strictly intertwined and then are very complex and then can justify the social issues that sometimes arise for a new project on aquaculture development. So the survey was spread to a wide array of stakeholders in 26 countries.
and we received over 600 responses. The questionnaire that was used had 45 questions covering the 4 dimensions of sustainability: the economic, the environmental, the social and ethical, and governance aspects. And they were built on the previous work undertaken by FAO and GFCM on this subject, as well as the major results and findings from the scientific community and the work undertaken so far on this subject. Coming to the 2 regional stakeholders, the first one was held at Montpellier during the EAS Aqua 2018 event, and was organized by FAO GFCM in collaboration with the PerformFish. And the workshop discussed the main knowledge on the subject so far, and also suggested the preliminary elements that could be considered for the preparation of the guidelines. On the other hand, the second workshop that was held in Tunisia, thanks to the kind support by the Technical Aquaculture Center in Monastir, the workshop discussed these elements of and factors, and through working groups and other type of works identified practical action and stakeholders that could be addressed in order to improve and enhance the social acceptability of the sector for the production of the guidelines. So the object of the guidelines is to help for a good governance of the sector, and also to enhance participatory approaches, and to identify the practical action that specific stakeholders have the responsibility to undertake, to also improve the general knowledge of the public at large. So this is a simplified framework that was developed for the guidelines, in where governance and participatory approaches are for planning aquaculture are the key elements that need to be taken into account to improve the social acceptability of the sector in planning. So what are the structure of the guidelines? They built around 20 main principles that cover the 4 dimensions of sustainability, as I mentioned before. And for each aspect, they provide an overall perspective, explaining what are the main issues at stake. And then they define specific actions and identify the stakeholders that they should take care of this action, implement this action. And also they provide some boxes with a real example and cases in the Mediterranean region. So 1 minute. Yes, I'm coming to the conclusion. So the guidelines are a source of recommendations for a better governance and communication of the sectors, and they identify the main stakeholders that need to be involved. They provide a recommendation and action to try to change the perception of the public at large, but also the local authorities. And they foster the participatory approaches and stakeholders' involvement. So in this process, aquaculture authorities can work hand in hand with farmers association and other key players in order to set up mechanisms to improve the social acceptability of the sector. And furthermore, there is a need to bring consumers more close to the farms in order, and also to put in place communication mechanisms in order to improve the knowledge of the sector. The last but not least, by implementing the allocated zone for aquaculture, we take into account social and economic aspect, then many social issues can be prevented. And I would like to conclude also by reminding that the guidelines will be presented by the GFCM session in next November. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Davide. You're coming. Okay. I need to find yours. No? But it has to be, no? Send it to me. That's it now. We have an open drive. Yeah, but I got it. So
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, I know I got it. So you don't have a pen drive, right? So working for now. No, this is different. Okay, let's start. Can you start and let me in time to try to see if I have it here?
So until we find the presentation, just to tell you that we started in the work package 7 with Jose, who present the general frame of this work package. Davide present what we've done on regional level on Mediterranean Sea and Black Sea, I guess. And the idea was just to tell you what we've done really at local level, and why we choose Greece for today. And we, in fact, we choose Greece to have case studies, just because Greece, as a lot of people here, they told you already, is one of the main producers of sea bass and sea bream at the EU level and the Mediterranean level. And then development of aquaculture started quite early in 1980s, before the entrance of the invasion of the country at EU. And this development was supported by EU as soon as the country became a member. And finally, we thought that it can be interesting to show how and understand how the aquaculture sector there faced and face today the issue of social acceptability. And we decided to go to one region, the western part of the countries. I always say we, because I am working with Alexis Konidis from HCMR in Greece. And we decided to go to the western part of Greece, where there are potential of the development of offshore aquaculture. So at the beginning, we didn't really, our diagnosis was not really the best. And finally, because we were planning to work on Avragikos area, and then we extend this area up to the north on Epirus from Mesolongi and to Epirus just down of the Albanian border. So it doesn't matter. And so our idea was really to understand which type of conflicts, positive or negative, they found when they start, how they deal, and what is the situation today if this sector finally it's rooted and integrated in the local communities. Okay, the beginning was really hard for everybody, lack probably of legal frame. because the Greek case in Greece, and we had a very old legislation, and finally the local population contest. As Jose said, it was not only because they didn't want to have them in front of their houses and their houses lose the value, but also because they had other territorial plans and so on. So for that, we done a survey, online survey, where we had 380 responses. And then we done face-to-face interviews and also a cloak questionnaire with aquaculture farmers about corporate responsibility to see what they done. In fact, we found that a lot of them, they develop responses they gave fish and money for philanthropic reasons, or they gave fish to schools and so on. These policies, these responses came one by one, and each company done as they could. It was not a common response, collective response. And of course, they were not proactive because they could go there and start with that. In fact, the mayor of some of the cities, they told us that they accepted this industry there because they didn't believe on the future of this industry. They were thinking that it will be collapse in a few months, but finally they are there and so on. Okay, we still have problems. I mean, the local society still have problems of noise, of waste, of smell, of conflict with other users, and so on. And the analysis of the questionnaire, the main probably message to get home, it's that we analyze the reasons, and finally my colleague Alexis and done modeling of the responses, and he found out that the category which is against the most against the aquaculture industry are people that they never eat fish, aquaculture fish. They have an income for more than 10,000 euro per month, and they have a secondary house. So, don't worry, I finish. So the for us, in fact, the most important is now understand better really this category of people that they are against of aquaculture, and do something more in detail to go further to respond to this social acceptability. Of course, if we go further, doesn't mean, and more in detail, doesn't mean that we are okay. I mean, we can always have problems, because is what I didn't mention is there is always this problem of acceptance of our democracies, which are in many of the countries in crisis, and decisions of our central government and state are not always welcome at local level. So maybe we have to work also on that, and how we include more the local societies, not in the middle of the process, but be proactive and do it from the beginning. That's all.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, and apologies for my mistake. We are arriving to the time of discussion, but before we have with us today Mrs. Lorella de la Cruz. She's the head of the Aquaculture and Blue Economy Unit of the European Commission. and she's invited just to give a brief presentation about the new European guidelines for aquaculture.
Thank you very much, Bernardo, and thank you for providing me the opportunity to address you today. Just to give you a bit of a context from the policy side on what we are planning to do on EU aquaculture. I mean, I have been following with a lot of interest the presentations of the results of this project today, and I must say that they are highly relevant for what we're going to do, what we see from the European Commission point of view for this sector in the years to come. So I would like just to give you a brief introduction. I hope you're all aware of the adoption on the 12th of May of this year of the Commission strategic guidelines for a more sustainable and competitive EU aquaculture for the period 2021-2030. And this was a strategy that was adopted following very close consultations with EU member state experts on aquaculture, but also with different stakeholders, including obviously industry, but also some NGOs, especially those represented in the Aquaculture Advisory Council. There was also a public consultation on the challenges and opportunities of aquaculture in the EU, and those results were also taken into consideration. So the result of a very close consultation with different stakeholders. The first thing I would like to stress is that the guidelines are, first of all, a recognition of the importance of the role of aquaculture in the agenda that has been set for the EU, namely the European Green Deal agenda. So there's a recognition of this importance of the sector. The sector has been mentioned in the communication of the European Green Deal, but also in the Farm to Fork strategy. And this is something that is very, very valuable for the future development of this sector. The guidelines offer a clear vision of where we would like to see the sector going in the coming years, and also a clear path. Well, just to note, the guidelines are voluntary, but we have, obviously, with engagement of all the stakeholders, try to make these guidelines owned by everybody, so that we can ensure their implementation. They identify 4 key horizontal objectives. One of them is building resilience and competitiveness for EU aquaculture. The second one is ensuring that aquaculture contributes to the green transition that we are envisaging for the EU economy. The third one is ensuring social acceptance and information to the consumer. We just mentioned this important factor. And the fourth one is increasing knowledge and innovation. And I think it was very relevant what was mentioned about, Einstein saying that information is not knowledge. We have to experience things. So this is also an aspect that we would like to see more stressed. There's 13 areas of work, of further work, identified in these guidelines that are organized under these 4 horizontal objectives. I will not mention them all, but you have things like regulatory administrative processes, access to space, environmental performance, animal health, animal welfare, climate change. And the guidelines identify concrete recommendations for each of these areas, and also propose specific actions for member states, for the Commission, and for the Aquaculture Advisory Council. I would like just to mention very briefly that part of the implementation of the guidelines will be the development of guidance documents that are aimed at addressing issues that are identified as needing further work. And I have mentioned just a few, but there's also the idea to gather all the information, all the knowledge, all the experience gained over these years in terms of experience by member states, by industry, notably by EU funded projects like this one. Gather all this information and make it available to stakeholders in a one-stop shop website. So that's, as I'm saying this, I would just like to invite you to read the guidelines. They're not very long, they are 30 pages. Also, I invite you to look at the brochure that we have produced, the European Commission has produced, to inform the citizen about what is aquaculture in the EU, and also about what is the strategy for the future for this sector. I think it has been provided by the organizers, but if not, I will provide that to our colleagues here. And just to finish, well, this project, the results of this project are usually very relevant for the implementation of the new strategy for EU aquaculture. We've seen the integrated assessment of the sustainability of the sector in the Mediterranean area. That's very highly relevant. And also aspects like product differentiation, product development, and the last one we have mentioned that is particularly important, social acceptability, without which we cannot really envisage further growth of the sector. So thank you very much for providing the opportunity to raise this political context in this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorella. So we are we are going to start the final discussion. We are running a little bit late of time. I propose that we keep that the discussion till 1:15, not longer, 25 minutes. And for that, I invite the work package leaders that are here, Irene, to come here to the table, Jose Perez, someone from Cantabria, I don't know, Jose Luis, you would like to come here, and Caterina from PerformFish, you would like to sit here. There might be questions for other keynote speakers, and you will have the opportunity to make your questions not only to those that are sit here, but also to the contributors. So please, you can come. No, pero ahora tenemos. Dolors, ¿puedes traer alguna silla? Sí. Dolors. Ya está. Ah, bueno, ¿no? Sí, pero ido sentando ya. Sentaros como queráis. 4. 2, 3, 4, sí, yo me quedo aquí. ¿Podéis sentaros y probar el micrófono?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Jose, are you coming? Okay, let's start the debate. If anyone has a question or doubt that would like to raise. I know that is the end of the morning, but this is the best chance you have to address these researchers, leaders of the different work packages. No questions. Anyone that would like to, Cristóbal, how you have the opportunity to look at the questions in internet?
Okay. I am surprising with the results that Caterina had presented about which is the real impact of when you ask to the people about the preferences between wild and farmed fish. Okay, I suppose this answer is related because you ask directly, what do you prefer, wild or farmed? No? And my question is, do you do the same but doing blind testing and not introducing in the people which are the origin to be sure that the answer that they are provided is the correct one, or maybe they are lying?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. No, we asked directly in the range of the consumer survey. We wanted to know what are the perception of the most preferred production method for sea bass and sea bream directly, because when consumers are buying those species in the stores, very often they don't know if they are farmed, if they are wild. But then we wanted to know from the start what is the most preferred production method. So all the consumers were asked about this, and the results were very different, as you saw on the slide. But we did not have the component of blind tasting of those products, no. But that could be also very interesting to know in some maybe future actions, also to see what will be the reactions from consumers in this. Thank you.
I don't know if Irene, you can add something. No? Oof. So Alicia.
Just a reply for you. We have done in Spain in another project not related with this. We did a blind test with how can I say, wife associations, women association, consumers, several different people in a project about the different spirits that are in culture. The sea bream, the sarco, parco, besugo, there were several species. Some of them were from the wild and some other were from culture. And when we were comparing and checking the people, their opinions, they all prefer the cultured ones. Yeah, in a blind test. And the blind test I tell you is just to put the fillet in a microwave oven and just do it in vapor. Yeah, so it's just the real taste of the fish. And they all prefer the cultured one. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a very valuable conclusion and then observation, but it stresses again the need for the improvement of the image of the aquaculture products. Because if the whole perception, it varies from consumers group to consumer groups, from countries to countries, on the general level, it needs to be strengthened. And this is what we are trying to do.
There is Lorella, then.
Yes, thank you. This is a question for Jose, I think. In fact, it was very interesting what you mentioned about, well, a kind of protocol to engage stakeholders when developing aquaculture in local communities. I would like to know who drives this process. Is it expected to be the local authorities? Is it expected to be the industry themselves? How do you see this process of engaging the stakeholders in development of aquaculture?
Well, in fact, in the case studies we work on, there was no real framework to do that. So we explore, we did something, an experimentation on. So we work with AGAPA, the agency in charge of aquaculture in Andalusia region. So there is no framework for that. So we try to explore, and we realize that in fact there is something lacking because there are not efficient. So we used so there's some material from the project to do some training lessons about participatory approach, and which is relevant is in this particular, in this example. So all the workers of the public administration has no skills about that. The main teams are composed of oceanographers, biologists, geographers, etc., but there is no social scientist. So there are no skills, there are no framework, there are no means. And I would say that all the efforts are about the oceanographic campaigns, carrying capacity analysis, selection of best areas for hosting aquaculture, etc. So that's why it's about the technical issues. And when they, in previous planning projects or planning construction in the region, they realized that these local authorities that after this expensive and costly efforts to planning, etc., so they are facing to the rejection of these projects in the real field. So the answer is, in many cases, there is no specific frameworks, and there is nobody doing that. And so it depends on the initiative, personal initiatives of administration in local territories.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank my friend Bernardo for this kind invitation, and also for this very nice event, and for these results, which is very important for our country. And I would like to ask you if it is possible also to participate in the training of these important results that the project already shown. And my question is for Mrs. Ekaterina. I just would like to know if the price of the new value-added product of aquaculture species is accepted by the consumers or no. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for the question. Indeed, the price, we see the highest acceptance of the price for value-added products in the emerging markets. But this is due to the nature how consumers are used and how consumers do seek to find products. For example, regarding traditional market, this segment is very limited, so it can be it's different in percentage for all the markets in the traditional way, traditional Mediterranean markets. So it can be up to, I don't know, up to 5% maybe, even less, because it's like very, very small. But then when we move to emerging markets, for example, in the UK, it's exceptionally high. It's, if I'm not mistaken, up to 43%. So of the general availability of sea bass and sea bream products in the retail. So it's very, of course, it's a very rough estimation, but it's more for our understanding. So what is the scope? So it's closer to the half, maybe between 1/3 and closer to the half. So of course, in this case, the acceptance is evident. And this is the same for the German market. So the share is lower, but still it's incomparably higher compared to the traditional Mediterranean markets. And even within the range of value added, we see different. We can find premium products, we can find more, let's say, mass orientation products and so on. Thank you.
I wanted to add something about in the market segmentation study we did in MedAID. We identified two segments of consumers that are willing to pay more for the products. It's an opportunity for them. They would buy more products with more quality, and they would pay more for these products. We have identified in the two first segments about 50% of the consumers, but always taking into account that taste, nutritional quality, and freshness are essential for this price, no? To be decided to pay for more. Yes.
Thank you. Maybe it's my fault, but on the presentations of new products, I didn't get a clear idea if you were testing already existing products in the market, or is there any new product developed under MedAID or PerformFish, a new product really that now the market is ready to take? The industry in your projects or even outside it is ready to take and to exploit.
Yes, I'm sorry because I have not much time to do the presentation, but of course we did the 8 products at pilot scale, and we did 4 real products that were tested by the consumers in Spain, France, and Germany. In Spain, due to the COVID pandemic, they were tasted at home by the consumers, and in France and Germany, they were evaluated by the consumers with photographs, information, and a questionnaire about the products. But they were really produced in a pilot plant with all the healthy, safety, and well, all the information compiling with the legislation of food regulation. Yes. And these products were identified in a list of 15 best score products identified by consumers as innovativeness, healthy, and convenience products. Yeah.
I just want to return
we
back.
have produced all the information for the industry, also the technical data sheet for all the products with the nutritional labeling, sharings, preparations, cooking instructions, all the information for producing at industrial level. And also we have done for the products economic study of profitability, taking into account all the costs of producing these products. Materials, formulation, equipment, the investment for a company, and all this. Yes, this information is in deliverable, in the last deliverable of the Work Package 5 that will be available soon at the web page. Thank you.
Just to go back on the social acceptability and the question that you asked before, I think that if we consider that our EU sector, aquaculture sector, it's robust, I think it's a time to go for a social license to operate. I mean, that is something coming from the sector. And then maybe when they will go in the communities, they will not be anymore anonymous, because also what I didn't mention is that more big is the company, less is accepted, because people, they don't put face in front of them. So it's something that we should support. We should support our sector to establish social license to operate at EU level if we want to go further.
This is a question or just an afterthought about whether any of you have addressed a generational issue in the product acceptance. The reason why I'm asking us is going back to what Alicia's work. Alicia, correct me if I am wrong, but I think when you did that work, there was a big segment, a gap between who could differentiate wild fish and aquaculture fish. And only all people, mainly related with fishermen, could really, in a blind test, differentiate the product. So it could be interesting to address that, because if it's a generation issue, really, then we are probably closing that gap, that time, that era, and we are moving into an area where there will not be anybody in the general public who will be able to clearly differentiate, not based in principles or in even prejudices, but on memory, you know. So it will be, could you elaborate a little bit on that? Do you think this is correct? Or?
I agree with you. In fact, in the co-creation workshops we organized at the beginning of the project, we engage also younger consumers and young scientists in the development of new product idea, and we identified that their perception about aquaculture was quite more different than from the other groups. Yes, of course, that group of consumers is an essential target for the development of aquaculture. We know that. But also, we shouldn't forgive that the senior consumer, the senior population is here to stay for a long period. They know more from wild and aquaculture than the younger generations, and that should be taken into account also, not only the younger generation, but the senior generations that in Europe are a big group of consumers. I don't know really if I'm answering to your question, Dolores, but we have taken into consideration of all these consumer niches, the younger, the family with children, and the senior populations in our studies, yes. And we have segmented the people inquired in the questionnaires for taking into account the age of the people. Yeah.
A question for José Luis. Somebody asked, are the tools for economics analysis available, and will more indicators be incorporated in the future?
We have in this model we have different we treat with different parameters, so it's possible to introduce some modifications of in the values of the parameters, but also in the different scenarios of production. So it's possible to run different analyses with different situations. And the results of some of these analyses are open. For example, I told you about the Aquaculture Journal, the paper we have already published. It's also other study. Well, tomorrow I present some in an oral presentation. I present some of these results. Well, in the future, we want to work in these areas about the improvement in fish breeding, fish health, fish feeding, also in environmental issues. I think is very important for the future, because if we want to plan in the future, the green future for the next 20, 30 years, we had to know more about that, okay? And to take more decisions with more knowledge and more data, okay?
So I just want to add two comments. Continue with José Luis. The most important contribution of the work they have done is not to show that the price is a very relevant parameter, or that the feed is a very important parameter, or that mortality is also a very important parameter. Is to show with numbers, to make an assessment, to have a better idea of what is the level of the impact of those parameters on the productions economic at the farm level. Because that is very important. It is not the same as 5% or 10% in the benefits, or in the reduction or increases of the cost. So this is the tools and the exercise they have done. It gives such a valuable information. So I invite you to follow not only the publications, the deliverable that they have produced, the 6.5. José Luis, yes.
For example, we have some results, interesting results. For example, the confirmation, for example, of the scale effects in the farms. For example, in the last table with 9 different scenarios with different farm sizes and different size of the product. We obtain, for example, different costs of operating the farm, or different margins. So we obtain the scale effect that in the real, we are observing that in the real world, many farms and many companies are concentrating and are integrating the production in a few companies. We obtain the knowledge that doing that in the sector is possible to obtain great economies of scale. So we obtain that in the simulation with the parameters of the farms. We obtain the confirmation of that, okay? But we obtain other interesting results. We try to give you more information in the future, okay?
Yes, I just wanted to mention another example, which is in France, the development of wind farms. And it's a good parallel because there is a very high political impetus to develop wind farms like in all Europe. But the administration is facing the high social acceptability issues also for wind farms. So about 80 to 70% of the projects are facing are in juridic processes. So the French ministries are trying to build a kind of observatory to evaluate the social and the economic impacts associated to this development. And so when we go back to aquaculture, so I would say that the there is a regulation for the developing aquaculture. So we have to implement ecological impact assessments to have license. But there is nothing about the social impact and economic impacts associated to this aquaculture development. And so this social impact related to how other stakeholders are impacted from this development can be an operational way also to produce information, indicators in order to better understand these social processes in the territories, and in order to feed this stakeholder involvement processes to better improve social acceptability.
Just to add, and then we will finish, just to try to put it in the correct framework. We should keep in mind that we are doing consultation. What we are discussing today is at what level the consultation should be improved. For any aquaculture project, there are a consultation level at the different administrations. So we know how tedious is the consultation process. When a project is submitted, has to consult not only the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry, I don't know, the Harbor, the many different institutions, fisheries, associations too. But we are talking more about the local groups or local stakeholders that traditionally have not been consulted. For this discussion about whether such a local consultation process should be included in the planning of the submission of the projects, I think that the answer is, as far as I see, Jose has not a clear answer. Katia is pro. From my side, I would say that maybe a consultation can be included, but not as a requirement, because still there is a very high lack of methodology in order to know how to do that. And then we might find examples of maybe reluctance at the local level, but for a project that is of high or strategic interest, then always the political, they will have to take maybe a key role on those decisions. But the question is to go further, no, and start that consultation. That will be my say. No, Jose?
Yeah, but behind this consultation, I mean, also to provide a more detailed analysis of the social impacts. And this is not only to talk with some representative, but also to properly understand what is happening in the real field and which are these social impacts, because the factors of social acceptability are mainly related to economic returns to local communities, for instance. So ecological impacts. So these issues are very important to know if to know the level of social acceptability.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'm sure that if it is very short, very short.
No, I think this discussion about the level of consultation is very interesting. And just to mention that in the strategic guidelines, we are differentiating between, for example, the licensing process where there's a consultation, stakeholders, different agencies, but also the angle of integrating aquaculture in local communities. So that's, I think, is what you're referring to as the levels. So that's very interesting.
Okay, thank you very much. I thank you for your attendance, and then we finish the morning session. The afternoon session, if I am not wrong, it starts at 3:30.